Hey, what's up, guys? Welcome back to the workshop. We're right in the doldrums, the middle of winter, and it's kind of become a tradition in my house to take the family, load up the van, and get away for a few days. We normally head to the big city, which here in Maine, that's going down to southern Maine, going to Portland. And there's a lot of cool things to do there, whether it be museums, just swimming in the hotel pool, or to do some shopping. And we like to go to Cabela's. That's the kids' favorite place. There's a lot of stuff that they see and they want. But then I flip it over, look at the price tag, I get shocked by the sheer amount of numbers that I see. I'm pretty handy with tools, so instead of letting that sticker shock get me down, I think, you know what? I could probably make that for less. Today I have a compilation for you, videos. They're from 2022, I think, so odds are you probably haven't seen them yet. And I just needed a easy week this week because I gotta go work on my income tax return. So let's start off with the first one, which is an easy build. It's just building a simple rope ladder. I'm gonna show you how to do that without spending any money, if possible. Yeah. Whoop. Welcome back to the backyard. I'm Jeff, and this is a rope ladder, which can be a very versatile piece of backyard play equipment for you and your family. And whether it's part of a ninja course, a tree house, or even just used as a swing, there's plenty of things you can do with one. GoPro, stop recording. But if you're gonna go buy one brand new, it's about 25 bucks by itself, which isn't too bad, but in times like these, I'm sure you're trying to look for ways to save money for your family, so I'm gonna show you how you can build one yourself for a fraction of that cost, maybe even with things you have lying around your house already. So let's go. So for this build, you're gonna need two things. You're gonna need some rope and something to use as the wooden rungs. Now this is rope I had around my yard already. I would value this as about $250 worth of rope. And then the wooden rungs, you could pick up 1-inch in diameter dowels at your local home improvement store, and they're gonna run you about $5 each for a 4-foot length, which you could cut down to 4 pieces. You're probably gonna want 8, so you're gonna need 2, so that's gonna be about $10. But if you're like me and you have either some trees around or you live in the woods where trees literally grow like weeds, I bet you have some wood around. Right here we have my kindling pile, where I'm cutting it up to burn in my wood stove this winter, and I've got plenty of pieces that are already the perfect length, so that's what we're gonna use. The next thing we gotta do is cut this rope. How did that not cut? Oh, it's stuck. There we go. That cut it. I cut it into 2 15-foot lengths because I'm not sure exactly what I want to do with this, and I want to make sure that it's long enough. But if you're going to try to build a basic 8-rung rope ladder, you're probably gonna need about 10-11 feet. As you tie knots in it, it's going to shrink up, so you're going to want a little bit longer, but then it's also going to stretch some, so it's kind of a fine line you gotta walk. And also this rope was rated for load bearing up to 130 pounds. So since there's 2 strands, that should hypothetically be 260, I think. I'm not an expert on rope strength. This might be a little bit borderline. So just use caution and common sense. Take a saw and just put a little notch in it. Just something that the rope can rest in and bite into, and you're not gonna have to worry about it sliding off the end as you're climbing. Next, we're going to tie this off to whatever your ladder is going to be attached to. Now in my case, I'm just tying it to this longer rung because I want this to be able to move around to different locations. But if you're tying it off to something specific because you want it to be stationary, tie it off to that instead. So we're gonna take the rope, we're gonna loop it around there, then we're going to go under the rope, over the rope like this, and then around one more time like this, and then loop over this way once more, and then back up through both of these circles, and then pull that down tight. And what that'll do is that'll make a knot that tightens down, and then you'll be able to slide it up to the top, and then that is not going to go anywhere. So we're going to make the loop, but now we're going to take the top part, I think, and cross it, and then put that through, pull that through, and then put that in there like that with our notch. Now we're going to do our other side. This is where it gets tricky because you want it to be about the same length down the rope. You don't want your rungs to be too uneven. See what we look like here. Get that nice and tight, and then move that up. Grab your next rung. That worked out pretty close. Both ropes are right towards the end. All right, now we got the whole thing tied off. Now I'm gonna take it up to the tree fort, show you why this longer piece is going to help us hang it wherever we want. So here's what we're gonna do. We got this longer one at the top. Now check this out. We can loop this between here, and now take the end. Actually, I put it up higher at first. Take the ends, put them through like this. Get them on. There we go. All right. So now that is hooked off on itself. Once you put weight on it, that's when it's really gonna cinch down tight. So let's see if this will work for me, as heavy as I am. Yeah. Whoop. So I made it up. You can try it in some other spots and see how that works, but it did hold up. Woohoo! Next, let's see if this will allow us to affix it to our ninja line here, just like we did earlier. Being taller, this is less than ideal. Well, if we come up a few steps, get our legs through there. Yeah, that could work. Nice swing. Should have done this first. We just hooked it to the side there so that I can get all those knots nice and tight without falling if something goes wrong. That sound was it cinching down. Actually, nope, that sound was the string breaking. Well, that kind of puts a damper on things, doesn't it? I should mention that this string has been sitting out in our woods for 2 years, so this is not brand new rope. But obviously I'm not going to climb that. What to do? What to do? I'm definitely not going to climb up on that because one of the strands is broken through, and this is not the ideal rope. So that's about it for that. But at the end of the day, the design worked. The problem is I shouldn't have used rope that's been exposed to the elements for 2 years, and probably something that's a little bit sturdier than this. So if you do that, you should be good. But no matter what you do, whether you're doing something homemade or you're doing something store-bought, always supervise your kids when they're playing outside, when they're climbing up off the ground. You just always want to be safe. And another good takeaway from this is always inspect your equipment. Luckily I did that and didn't try to climb this because that could have ended in disaster. Okay, so the general premise was good, but using that ratty old rope was a terrible idea. Before I let the kids climb that at all, I replaced it with some paracord that I bought for a couple dollars from Walmart, and then it worked great. But that made me think, let's up the ante and build a full ninja course and try to do it for only like 10 bucks. Let's jump into this next video and we'll see if we can succeed. Hopefully this works. What's up? I'm Jeff and welcome back to the backyard. Around here we love us some ninja courses, but the price tag on them can get pretty far up there. And I can't help, being as cheap as I am, think, I bet I can make that for less. So let's give it a try. As anybody could tell just by looking at it, a ninja course is nothing more than a ratchet strap with obstacles hanging from it. Granted, it is a very heavy-duty ratchet strap, but since we're trying to save money here, I got the cheapest one that I could find at Harbor Freight Tools. So this one's not going to be very long. It's going to fit maybe 3 or 4 obstacles on it, and that's it. But we're trying to save money here, so that'll do fine. I think these 2 trees here are the right distance apart for our short little ratchet straps. So let's see if we can get it strung up, and then we'll test it and go from there. Now, the thing I love about making these videos is even I don't know how they're going to turn out, but I can guarantee you I'll prove one of 2 things. Either one, I'll prove that it is possible to make something to have fun on in the backyard for very little money. But on the other hand, I might just end up proving that going out and buying one of these things at the store and paying full price is worth every penny you'll pay. So let's get this hung up. See if we can get this tight enough.
Hello. Ping pong. No, hello.
All right.
But
it's not really getting any tighter. Oh!
my arm caught it.
So that was too tight. It doesn't seem like I broke it. I guess if you just get it a little bit too tight, it explodes. I mean, the other ones on my store-bought Ninja lines don't do that. Let's give it another try. So we've already learned that if you tighten it too far, it doesn't work well. So we're gonna not tighten it too far this time. Set this camera down right here. I looked it up and this ratchet strap is supposed to support up to 400 pounds, but where I don't know the exact math of how it all works out when you divide it between the pressure that it needs to stay tight and then add weight to it. I don't know how much that's gonna work out to. So Eli, I want you to back up, because if this explodes again, I don't want it to hit you in the face. So stay back there. See if we can get my 200 pounds on it. Yeah? Well, it didn't explode. Let's go start building some obstacles. Ha ha ha. All right, so I've cut 3 little lengths of this sapling, and these that were cut down when we cleared our backyard trails here. But I'm gonna take these, drill holes through them, and use this rope that Eli was holding to make basic monkey bars. Because that's one of the the 2 most basic Ninja Line obstacles are gonna be monkey bars and rings. And I, off the top of my head, can't think of an easy way to make rings, so we're gonna make 3 monkey bars. And that's one of the things you pay more for when you get bigger Ninja Course sets, is the more of a variety in different obstacles. So today we're gonna keep it basic, just work with the monkey bars to begin with. Looking good. So I've drilled holes through these, and then I sanded down some of the knots here that were kind of sharp, because I'm trying to keep some semblance of being safe through this whole build. Now we're going to figure out a way to string these up. I've got this paracord. It was a 50-foot length of paracord that I got from Walmart for $5. So that means we're all in for about $8 on this build so far. So here's the plan, Stan. I've got this length that is about 2.5 feet long. I'm going to take this. I've drilled the holes big enough that I can feed these loops I've tied on both ends straight through. There we go. So we can pull that through. Then I'm going to loop that around the end. That way, even if that hole somehow was to split this, the rope is looped around it and holding it tight. Do the same thing to the other end. This would be easier if I had like an awl or something to push it through. But there we go. All right, get that through. Pull it tight. All right. Now we got this, and now we're gonna take this, pull this down like that, and we're gonna take another loop, more or less like that. And this theory should work, but now we've got to repeat this 2 more times. So now we're gonna loop this over the top like that. And then if I've done everything right, this loop should be long enough. And nope. Did I make this one slightly too short? Come on. All right, here's what I gotta do. I think I can fix it. All right, take 2. We're gonna take this, loop it over the top, over one end of the monkey bar, slide that up, and get it over the other end, like so. There we go. And then we've got 1 monkey bar. We're gonna wait till everything's on there, and then I'm gonna test it so that nobody gets hurt. So our $8 Ninja Line. This is the moment of truth. Is it going to just fall apart under my weight? If it can withstand my weight, I think it's safe enough for the kids to play on. But if not, then it's coming down instantly. All right, back up everybody. Don't need anything hitting anybody in the face. And also, I weigh so much that I'm gonna be not very far off the ground. Can it lift me? Can it hold me? Huh? I think it's holding. I think it's holding. Woohoo! Oh. All right, the kids are gonna test it. Maybe one at a time. Other than being extremely low to the ground, how does that feel?
That feels good.
Seems like it's working pretty well, but I have one more idea. Come with me, guys.
Yeah.
Let's add this rope ladder to it. You're good.
Daddy, how about you do this? How about Daddy?
So we just ran and got our $5 rope ladder build, added it to our $8 Ninja Line, and now we've got an almost full-fledged ninja course. So it's clearly possible to build a ninja line on a shoestring budget using a ratchet strap from Harbor Freight Tools and just some rope from Walmart. But the question is, should you? If you're gonna do something like this and it's low to the ground, there's very low consequences for anybody to get hurt, I'd say go for it. Let the kids fool around on it for a while. But as far as something that you're gonna put up, you're gonna let them play day in and day out, you might wanna just spend the extra money and buy something that you know is gonna be very high quality, very strong. But that's just my opinion. If you have a different one, leave it in the comments. All right, so that worked out great. I feel like that may be erased, and maybe now we can forget about the little bit of a fumble we had with the rope ladder in the first video. But that ninja course was up for several months after that. The younger kids especially loved playing with that as it was lower to the ground, easier for them to reach. That would be a great way for you to maybe test out whether or not your kids even like a ninja course before you spend a bunch of money on it. And it only costs a few bucks. But that reminds me, building things yourself, yeah, there's the benefit of saving money, but more importantly, and you can't even put a price tag on this, is that time you get to spend together with your kids, problem solving, figuring out, designing, building, taking this idea that you have in your head and making it a reality. And that's really what this next video is all about, where we decided that we wanted to try to build this push cart that we had seen in a book and just kind of, without spending too much money, just take this idea that's in our heads and make it something real. And I feel like that's a valuable lesson that you need to teach your kids as a dad. So let's jump right into that video. What's up? I'm Jeff, and welcome back to the backyard. I've got Ethan and Calvin with me, and I'm sure that they would agree that it's every little boy's dream to have a go-kart. But go-karts can be expensive and actually quite dangerous. Even pedal cars can be quite pricey. So today we're going to try to build, for less, a gravity-powered push cart. So stay tuned. So our goal is going to be to try to make this as cheap as possible, and we're actually basing our design off of the plans in the Dangerous Book for Boys. This has plans for a basic gravity-powered cart that you can build with pretty much stuff you find out of a dumpster. But to try to upgrade this into the ultimate backyard downhill machine, we're gonna upgrade the design in the book in a few key areas to make this a little bit safer and a little bit more fun. So let's get building. Yeah! The boards are all cut. This was actually the first piece of lumber somehow that I've had to buy since the pandemic inflated lumber prices, and spending $9 on a 2x6 was a little bit nerve-wracking. I wanted to make sure I got all the cuts right. Everything looks good. Let's sand this stuff down real quick. So each of the axles is going to be attached to the bottom of one of these boards. So we got these axles, they're 3 feet long, they're gonna have to be cut down to length. It's gonna have to be long enough sticking out each side for one of these wheels on both sides, plus the nuts. We got a box full of nuts for this 5/8 inch rod. And then in the electrical section of your Lowe's or Home Depot, you can find these things. These are little conduit clamps we're gonna put on like this, screw them in at either end. I don't know if that's gonna be strong enough to deal with the bumps of going along off-road. So I made these little pieces like this, kind of sandwich the axle in there so that it can't go anywhere, it'll be in there strong, and these clamps will basically just be to keep it from falling directly off. We got the first axle board complete, and the axle's still able to slide out, but it's pretty firm in there, which is good. And somehow in the process, Calvin lost his shirt. I don't know what happened there. But now that that's done, we've got to do the same thing for the front, but I just ran into a problem. I realized that part of our steering mechanism, this board's gonna be in the way of. Do you have any idea how we could fix that, Cal? So we gotta take this, and then say, abracadabra.
Abracadabra.
Ta-da! So on the other one, we're gonna have to do 2 shorter ones so that there's a gap. So let's get started on the second one. So now this piece is done. You guys were a lot of help.
Yeah.
Calvin's taking a shower and he's still not wearing a shirt.
Yeah!
Yeah! This is the back axle assembly here, and I pre-drilled the holes here to screw these boards. This is where you're gonna sit. And then this is going to be the main part that holds onto the front piece. It's going to be attached with this carriage bolt down through. But I think we're going to put these screws in here, attach this together, and then that should be the bulk of the woodworking part of it. But then tomorrow afternoon, we're going to try to get into the whole wheel axle assembly and attaching the front on. before we get to putting the axles together, we needed to drill the holes for where it's going to steer. And this carriage bolt is going to go through the holes. Then I have these aluminum pieces attached there. My hope is that with a little bit of wax on it will make this slide a little bit easier and help it rotate. This is soft aluminum, so it's easy to work with, easy to cut, but it's also going to be easy to get scratched up. We'll see how that goes. Second bolt. So our turning mechanism kind of works. It's hard to tell exactly until we're actually using it. Let's get to putting the axles together. We're going to start off at one end of the axle. We're going to double up all of our nuts. That way we can tighten them against each other, and that should lock them pretty solidly in place. What would go next, guys? What would go next? A wheel?
Yeah, I think a wheel. It has to be a wheel.
2 more nuts on their way down. My plan is to just kind of build this whole thing, and then we'll have to trim it at the end. Now we gotta wind this all the way down. Oh, there we go, teamwork. Okay, we want to get that one right about there where it starts to touch, but the wheel can still freely spin. Slide that down through. Come on. Oh, there we go. All right. Now we're gonna do the other wheel up here, and then we'll know where we have to trim it off. The axle assemblies are all good now. We need to trim off the axles here, but it's raining outside. I want to do that outside because it's going to make a lot of sparks when I'm going to do it with my Dremel, because that's really the best thing I have. We're going to have to wait till tomorrow to do that. I've gotten most of the way through, but I wore down my grinder disc. So we need a plan B. Nope. Right now, the thing to do would be to go buy an angle grinder, but I'm cheap, so I'm gonna spend the next hour probably trying to file through this. Got it. That took about 10 to 15 minutes to cut through a 5/8 inch rod with a file. So if you got to do multiple of them, I would definitely pick up an angle grinder. You like that, honey?
Oh yeah.
Let's talk about cost for a second. All told, I spent about $35 on the wheels at Harbor Freight, and then I spent about $55 at Lowe's for the rest of the lumber, plus a few little odds and ends that I collected from my workshop. This is probably just about $100 for this build. But the real question is, does it work? All right, ready?
Here we go!
Oh, oh no. Oh, oh. Do you think it'd be easier to steer if it had reins, like a sled?
Yeah.
They seem incapable of steering it. I'm not sure yet if that's a design flaw or your user error. Push. Let go.
Let go.
So if I can do it, we know that it's possible. They just have to figure it out. We also added this backrest to give you something to put your back against, as well as these footrests, just to kind of give you a little bit more traction for your feet. They also kind of look like gas pedals. And then we added this double rope. It should be easier to pull it the way you want it that way. All right, let's head up the hill.
Don't die.
So this being version 1, it shows potential. It still has its kinks we've got to work out, but I think we've proved that it's definitely possible to try to build something. Even though it might not be as good as something you bought at the store, you still got to have that time with your kids to work together towards a project and kind of figure out these things as a team. And that is priceless. Hey, you guys are still here? Thank you so much for watching to this point in the video. Let me know in the comments if you enjoyed this longer compilation style video. I might mix in a few of these over the year just as an experiment, see how they do. And plus, it's a great chance for people that are maybe newer to the channel to revisit some of these older classic videos that still apply today. But if you want to see a way to make even more family fun and keep it on a small price tag, check out this video over here. Until next time, get out there with your kids and have a fun-sized adventure of your own. I'm gonna go finish my taxes because I have a bunch of kids, which means when I do my taxes, I get a bunch of money. I don't know what this finger thing is, but it feels weird. Forget you saw that.